and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another set of currently inked pens for this week. What I'll do is I'll go through these pens briefly left to right, we'll then go through them in a little bit more detail, and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right here we have the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog, we have the Visconti Homo Sapiens Florentine Hills, the Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi, the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Swirl, a Pelikan M805 Vibrant Blue, a Pelikan M800 Grand Place, a Classic Pens LM1 in the Flame Red, a Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaoseki, which is called the Metal Ore, a Visconti Wall Street Limited Edition, and a Visconti Opera Master River Thames. So let's look at these in a little bit more detail. So this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog that I have inked up, and you can probably see why I really do like this pen. It is a gorgeous pen. I do love how this cap sparkles. I do also like the ribbons in this, although they are a little bit more muted when you have a dark ink in there, and most ink will turn out to be dark ink. The nib itself is a 23 cat palladium fine nib. You can see there, in terms of the size of my hand, it's actually a really good size, it's a really good weight, and it holds 2.5 milliliters of ink. So for me, this really is a good size capacity pen, and ultimately the size and weight. And I have its sibling, the Visconti Homo Sapiens, and this is the Florentine Hills. And again, you can see here this ribbon effect that's going on there in the body. Again, it's a little bit more muted once you actually have ink in the body there. You don't get to see these swirls glisten as much, but it is a lovely pen. Now, this has a 23 cat palladium medium nib, and again, it holds 2.5 milliliters of ink. It's a really good size in my hand. I really do think that these Visconti Homo Sapien models are the most comfortable writing models for long writing sessions. And that's ultimately why I have a lot of them, because I do like them a lot. And then we have the Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi, and this is a lovely dark red version, and you can see the cap there is slightly translucent, so you can see the nib sort of going through the cap there, and again it holds a really large capacity of 2.5 milliliters of ink, and you can see the size of my hand there. And this comes with a 23 carat palladium, and this is a medium nib, but again these are just beautiful writing pens, and I love the weight, the size, and the ink capacity, and I can see how much ink is left in these pens, because I do hate it when I'm having a long writing session and then suddenly I've run out of ink, and then at that point it's like, I didn't think I was getting low on ink, but obviously clearly I was. So with these I can see the ink in here. And that brings me on to the Bronze Swirl, and you can see that I don't have a lot of ink in here, probably maybe half a barrel of ink, but you can see here this really is a lovely pen, and I wanted to add this to my collection as soon as I saw it, and it is a beauty of a pen. So I'm really glad I had the opportunity to add this to my collection. And you can see again, size of the hand, it's perfect. I can see how much ink is left in that barrel. It's just sloshing around there. And this one I actually got in a 23 cat palladium stub nib, and I decided that I wanted a stub nib on here because I was going through a phase of stub nibs, and for me that really would make a difference, because I do have a stub nib that I did put on my London Fog, but I've now switched it back to the fine nib, and I wanted another stub nib, so I decided I would get it in a stub nib. And then we have the Pelikan M805, and this is the Vibrant Blue, and this is a pen that I had lusted after for a while, and I managed to pick it up. I found a UK retailer that still had one in stock, and you can see here that the pen is semi-translucent there, and this has a little bit of ink in it, but these come with an 18 karat gold nib, and I got these in a broad nib because I do like the Pelican M800 series broad nibs. The M800 series nibs are pretty stiff nibs. They don't have a lot of give in them or flex, but for me, I found the medium nibs to be a little bit more on the crisp side of things. This is the Pelican M800 Grand Plus that I also have inked up, and again this also has an 18 karat gold broad nib on it, so you can see a trend here. But again, this in the size of my hand is actually a really good pen, and I do like this. You can post these caps if you want to, but I don't normally post them, and for me this is a beautiful pen, so I do like that pen a lot. And I do like a lot of the M800s, although lately I've not been writing with them as much, so I've been trying to get them back into my writing rotation, because they are good workhorse pens, and there's no reason why I shouldn't be writing with them. And then we have the lovely Classic Pens LM1, and this is created with diffusion bonded acrylic, and you can see there that basically it's just layers and layers of different coloured acrylic, and they just press it together and fuse it together, and the process is called diffusion bonding. But this is a beautiful material. This is the flame red, and this is the Classic Pens LM1, and this is a cartridge converter, and it comes with a medium Bock nib, but that writes quite nicely. You can see in the size of my hand as well, this really is quite a nice size. If I wanted to, I can post the cap, but I just never find the need to post caps. Maybe you do. For some reason, I just don't need to post the caps, and I think a lot of the pens tend to be more well balanced without the cap, and when you add a cap and you post the cap, they tend to be more unbalanced for me. So I think that's part of the reason why, and sometimes because it makes the pens look very long and unwieldy. And then we have the Classic Pens, and this is the LB5 that I have inked up, and this is the Kawasaki, and again it's using the same diffusion bonded acrylic process, but this is the Kawasaki, or the brown, which is basically translates to metal ore in English, and you can see why. And this is an absolutely stunning pen. It's actually made by Sailor, and it's a King of pen. It's about a half a centimetre longer, but it does also come, because it's made by Sailor, it comes with a Sailor 1911 size nib, and that is a medium nib from Sailor, so that would really translate probably a little bit more towards a fine, or a fine to medium nib. It's a cartridge converter as well. All of the Classic Pens are cartridge converter pens, but the material on these pens are really stunning, and I'd love to pick up some more LB5s. If anybody is selling any, do let me know. I do like a lot of the LB5 colours. I like the green, I like the purple, and I'm starting to like the white a little bit more as well. So if anybody has an LB5 that they want to sell, then do get in touch with me. And then we have the Visconti, and this is the Wall Street, and it's a limited edition from 2006. Now, I say limited edition tongue-in-cheek, but this was a limited edition one of 4,000. So to me, that's not a limited edition. But hey, Visconti, I guess any finite amount that is set to be made is a limited edition. I would call this a little bit more loosely a special edition, but this comes with the stacked celluloid, and this really is a beautiful, beautiful specimen of stacked celluloid. It comes with a power vac filler, it comes with a double reservoir, ink window, and the nib on here is a 23 cat palladium, and this is a 1.3mm stub nib, but that is a really beautiful nib. So again, this is a pen again that I find is a decent size, decent weight, It's a little bit longer than the Homo sapiens, but I think that is actually quite a nice pen. And I keep still looking at some Wall Streets, thinking I should pick up a few more in the stacked celluloid, but I don't know. There are so many other pens that we like and we want to get, so it's sometimes difficult. And then we have, last but not least, the Visconti Opera Master River Thames, and this was a Chatterley Luxuries exclusive. And you can see here this material really is stunning, and it was actually made, this material is the same material that was put into the London Fog cap, and you can kind of see it there. It's the same grey with blue parts in it, but this is a beautiful pen, and I love that I actually managed to get a pen which had a lot more blue in it than grey, some big areas of blue, because that really does make it pop more, I think. So this is a large pen, and it's a weighty pen. You can see here it really does feel a lot more weighty in my hand. It's a power vac filler, it's a double reservoir. Again, it holds 2.5 milliliters of ink like the Homo sapiens do. And then it comes with a 23 cat palladium nib, and that is a 1.3 millimeter stub nib there. But again, this writes very, very well. So this is another pen that I do like in my collection, and I have inked up again for this week. So that's the 10 pens that I have currently inked up. I think let's go and do a writing sample now. So the first pen we have inked up is, we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see here it's quite a fine nib, but it's actually quite a wet nib as well. So this is the Visconti Homo sapiens London Fog, and this is a fine nib, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. Now the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki, and that is one of my favourite blue inks, one of a few favourite blue inks, I'd say. And then we have this other Visconti, and this is the Florentine Hills. Now this has a little bit more of a bouncy medium nib on it, but again, this is quite a wet writing nib. So it's the Visconti Homo sapiens Florentine Hills, and it's a medium, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Visconti green, and that's a green that I am starting to use a lot more of lately. Then we have another Visconti, and we'll do an ink swatch here as well. And again, this is quite a wet nib. You can see here. So it's a Visconti Homo sapiens Caput Mundi, and it's a medium 23 cat palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Akamon Dutch Masters, and it's Steenrode van Vermeer. And that is a lovely deep red ink that I like a lot, and I do like it in that pen more. And then we have this Visconti, and this is again quite a wet nib. It's a stub nib, So it's a Visconti Homo sapiens, and it's the bronze swirl. And it's a 1.3mm stub nib, and it's a palladium nib. And the ink in here is Robert Oster, Cafe Crema. And I do think that that is an ink that actually matches quite well in that pen. And then the next pen that we have inked up is this lovely Pelican, and this is, we'll do an ink swatch here, a very wet nib, it's a broad nib, and it's a Pelican, and it's an M805, and it's a vibrant blue, and it's a broad, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku Asageo. Again, that's a blue ink that I'm starting to like a lot. And then we have this Pelican M800, so we'll do an ink swatch on this. So this is a Pelican M800 Grand Plus, and again it's a broad, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Jehaben Lee de Té, or tea leaves, which is a really beautiful brown ink that I do like a lot. And then we have a Classic Pens LM1. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And again, this is quite a wet writing nib, you can see here. So it's a Classic Pens LM1, and it's a flame red, and it's a medium 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Blackstone Uluru red, and that is a lovely, lovely ink. So I'll put a red there. I think it's called Uluru red and not Uluru. And then we have the Classic Pens LB5. Do an ink swatch again. Now this is a much finer nib, you can see here. So it's a Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaoseki, and it is a medium nib, although I think it's really more of a fine nib, and it's a 21 karat gold nib, because that's what Sailor do. It's a Sailor King of Pen nib, and the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku, and it's Sakushi. But again, Sakushi is horse's tail, and that is another brown ink that I do like a lot. And then we have the Visconti Wall Street. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is a large nib, as you can see here, and it's quite wet as well. So this is the Visconti Wall Street, and it's the LE, and it's a 1.3mm stub nib, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is the lovely Diamine Aqua Lagoon. Again, that's another sort of teal ink that I'm really starting to like more of lately. And it's actually one of my earlier inks, and I just hadn't used it for a couple of years, and I started using it again. And then last but not least, we have the Visconti Opera Master, and we'll do an ink swatch. And again, this is a large nib, so it's actually going to write pretty wide and pretty wet. So it's a Visconti Opera Master River Thames, and it's a 1.3mm 23 cat palladium nib, and the ink in here is Akamon Death's Blue, which is a washable blue, but it's quite a lovely blue ink, and an ink that I'm starting to use a little bit more of lately. So I think let's just go through these pens one more time. So we have a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog in a fine 23 cat palladium nib, inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Florentine Hills in a medium 23 cat palladium nib, inked up with Visconti Green. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi in a medium 23 cat palladium nib, inked up with Akamon Dutch Masters Steenwood van Vermeer. A Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Swirl with a 1.3mm palladium stub nib, and this is inked up with Robert Oster Cafe Crema. We have a Pelikan M805 in the vibrant blue with a broad 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Azageo. We have a Pelikan M800 Grand Place in a broad 18 karat gold nib, inked up with J. Herbin Lee Dete. We have a Classic Pens LM1 Flame Red with a medium 18 karat gold nib, and that's inked up with Blackstone Uluru Red. We have a Classic Pens LB5 Kaoseki with a medium 21 karat gold nib, inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Sakushi. We have a Visconti Wall Street limited edition in a 1.3mm 23 cat palladium stub nib, inked up with Diamine Aqua Lagoon. And then we have a Visconti Opera Master River Thames in a 1.3mm 23 cat palladium stub nib, inked up with Akamon Death's Blue. So there you have it, that's my currently inked for this week. Thanks for watching, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.